back to the Tales of Agmar, where we are bringing back the good old glory days of sci-fi and fantasy storytelling. Anyways, I'm your host, Sinjin. I'm here with you with some fresh content from the Tales of Agmar universe. And first off, before I get into a whole bunch of crazy stuff, fantastic stuff today, I've just got to go over a couple of announcements just to keep things going. So first off, working on the Discord. That will soon become the main way of where I release more updates, other announcements, kind of make it more than just a once a week thing. If you guys are into that, and you'll be able to join that soon. So be on the lookout for that. I'm kind of close. It could randomly pop up in this video. I am recording this video before the Discord is finished, but we'll see. So if you see in the description, it'll be down there below. Anyways, on top of that, I'm working on the first wave of art for Tales of Agmar, working with two artists. We're going to do like a mix of some sort of concept colored art that might have just like a slight sort of animated feel to it, which I think will be great. And we're also going to do a more like line art with inking kind of concept arty stuff. So more on those soon. The Discord will probably get updated with that as soon as they are out. We'll drop that on the Discord. But yeah, on top of the Discord, once that Discord is finished, I'll be focusing more on doing some more social medias, which is where a lot of that art is going to start popping up until Tales of Agmar gets like a website. But I'm holding off on the website until we get a lot more flow going, just because that's going to require me to get a lot of stuff going. But on top of everything else I'm doing, I am preparing for the website as I am seeing this steadily grow and get more people, which is fantastic. I'm really excited, really happy that you guys could all come and join me on this journey as we continue to see Tales of Agmar unfold. Anyways, thanks also for everyone listening, like I just said, for following, commenting on the cast wherever you find us. And without further ado, let's drop into what we're actually going to talk about this week. So today, we're going to talk about the Ellonist Republic's Bioengineering Division, which is the very division, I kind of talked about him a little bit, that Gander's father, whose name is Ellonist Strix. Sorry, I've got some unique spellings, and sometimes I even say them wrong. But anyways, Ellonist Strix worked in before his untimely demise, before the events of Tales of Agmar Gambit. And this Bioengineering Division's focus is the application of biotechnology in the form of weapons that can be deployed to enemy biospheres in order to defend and expand the Ellonist Republic. And that's kind of like their working mission statement. I'll iron that out a little bit better once it becomes more relevant, but there's the teaser for right now. And it is one of the most secretive sections within the Ellonist Republic, and as such, many of the employees are already Class 3 citizens. And those employees that are within like this circle, it's a big circle in terms of the idea where, it's not just like 10 or 20 or 50 people, it's a few thousand people. But when the Ellonist Republic is filled like billions, if not trillions of people, it's kind of small on that scale, right? But anyways, they have access similar to that of a Class 2 citizen almost, just in terms of like test sites and black sites, those different planets that they can go to that some Class 2 citizens can't even go to. And if they were any higher, they would basically be a Class 1 citizen at that point. So that's kind of where Gander's father was before he died, as he was one of these very high-ranking Class 3 citizens that was going a lot of places, a lot of secretive places, doing a lot of work for the Republic. But today, we're going to be focusing more on some of their advancements and some of their more recent ones, as I feel that will help you guys get a better look at what the Bioengineering Division is kind of about and what they do, and probably why it's so secretive. And then that's going to come out we're just going to go over 3 of them today, because they've got like a couple more, but these are the 3 ones I wanted to focus on. And the first one, thankfully, doesn't involve the total destruction of enemy forces or friendly forces for that matter, though it did start out as that, and it's a byproduct of a mass destruction program that actually turned into something good. So proof that some good things come through military R&D, similar to the microwave in the modern era. Then we're going to talk about a new drug they're testing and kind of its formats. This one's a little bit more like interesting because it's under the guise that it's to help soldiers, which ideally it would, but once we talk about it, you'll kind of see why it might be a little foggy in execution. And then to close up, we will talk about the project that Gander's father was actually a part of and took up a lot of his life's work before his death. Now, Medi-Gel is that first project that I just talked about a little bit. And it initially was researched as a way to make a silent killing dart or silent killing gas that would quickly dispatch enemy organic units or nosy whistle blowers, right? Or also noisy ones, just to, clear out people that are making a fuss about the Republic and things, to pave the way for either ground troops or for an Ellonist propaganda machine to come up and continue spreading the great news of the Ellonist Republic. And they were hoping to do that with this kind of microorganism that they found. Well, not kind of. This microorganism that they found, right? Basically, it's like a really, really, really small organism or living thing that was on a planet that had been recently discovered, and it kind of like consumed matter, right? And so they're like, oh, this is fantastic. It will probably, consume living things. So they mixed that with some painkillers in an effort to hide the fact that it existed. And they were already pretty fast acting. So it's almost like an acid, but it's living. And then they were hoping that would, take people out. However, they found that once the organism was actually introduced to the human body, instead of killing the subject, it ended up healing them. So a very interesting combination there. And not quite what they were hoping for, but it gives us some interesting things. And so what ends up happening from that point is they add some gel, like they add some things to it to make it a more gel-like substance, right? Some way to make so you could apply it similar to like Neosporin, right? So you put that on a wound and it would heal. And they found out that while it doesn't destroy humans and actually repairs them, it does take out foreign objects from the body and biodegrades them in a sense. Like it like consumes it and leaves it out. And so, for instance, bullets and shrapnel would get eaten up by the organism and placed on the outside of the human body while it repaired the human body. All right. So very fantastic. Plus with painkillers on top of that, very nice med, very effective, quick slap and go. Now, just for some specifics about this, objects that are larger than half a fist, so if you like made a fist with your hand, any object larger than that can't effectively be broken down. It has to be removed before application. So it's not like a treat all wounds kind of thing, but it can help with a lot of like bullet wounds or shrapnel wounds or scrapes. And if you fall and like break a leg, it can't quite set the leg, but it could definitely begin the process of fixing the leg if you could set it. If you can't set it, probably don't slap Medi-Gel on there. And then anything smaller than half a pinky anything larger than half a pinky takes an hour or more to dissolve. So you kind of like take your pinky, right, like a half of it. Anything bigger than that is an hour or more to dissolve. However, anything smaller than that, you can slap this Medi-Gel on there, throw in a patch to prevent future infection, and it can take anywhere from 2 minutes to an hour to heal that up pretty quick. Or to heal that up, which is pretty quick. Sorry. Coming over a bit like a weird cold I had this morning. Now, this substance, this Medi-Gel, initially got approved for use by ACE specialists, and so they used it a lot, tested it right. It was fantastic. Ellonist Republic found how to make more of it, and in turn released it so that Marine units could use it as well. So now Marine units have access to Medi-Gel, And a lot of Marine medics, of course, carry it. Squad leaders carry a few pouches of it. There's like this rip, apply some on there. You can reseal the pouch, and you just keep going through that process until you're out of the pouch, and then you can go get a new one. However, expeditionary forces, our glorious grunts, they do not get access to Medi-Gel, as it is deemed too rare of a resource. Not quite like rare, right? But when explaining to expeditionaries, it is deemed as a resource that is too hard to produce for the Republic, and so instead they rely more on like standard painkillers, bandages, antiseptics, right? Just a lot of what we have today in terms of medicine, no fast healing items for those guys. And even to complicate matters even further, just to look a little bit more into the dire situation of the expeditionaries of the Ellonist Republic, they don't have like a dedicated medical corps. They only get medics if someone volunteers, right? Or someone just happens to have medical knowledge, then they roll up, right? Like if you somehow go from doctor to expeditionary, you are a medic. And let me tell you, being a medic for the expeditionaries would be a mess, because you are right on the front lines, treating whoever's there, trying to get as many people to stay alive as possible. And you're just going to hope that you can make it too, because you're constantly getting shot at up there. Now, that's going to finish it up for the Medi-Gel, and we're going to move on to this Somnus Totalus, right? And so this is that other drug that they've been working on, kind of a newer thing, but the same group that made the Medi-Gel is working on this one. And like I said, it wasn't exactly created for straight up killing people. Instead, seeing as loyal soldiers have been deemed a higher commodity recently amongst the Ellonist Republic's high command, right? Like we want to keep those guys loyal to us alive and working because they're our most effective assets out there, especially aces and some specialist marine units, which do exist. Then they needed some way to treat for PTSD. Okay. Someone tell me in the comments what it is, because I'm really struggling right now. And I will look it up after this and like cry, but definitely feel free to tell me. Anyways, post-traumatic stress, PTS disorder. Yeah, PTSD. Yeah, okay. Anyways, sorry about my rambling for a minute. I just had to figure that out. They needed a way to treat that though, right? Especially since these units continued to experience more and more, and they were losing a large portion of veteran Marine and veteran ACE specialists to that. So the answer from the Bioengineering Division was to begin research and development into a drug that represses stressors in the subject's memory. So at least that's what they say. Really, it's repressing memories and kind of making people forget, sort of this medically induced amnesia. And they can actually apply it to specific memories through a certain process, which, would treat our problem of reoccurring flashbacks to messy situations, but can also make people forget things that you don't want them to remember. And so it's totally not going to be used during intensive interrogations led by internal affairs officers. Like, there's no chance that anyone would ever want to do that. That's crazy. Anyways, enough about me being sarcastic about that. Let's move on to this final project, which I think everyone will like. It's going to pop up during the beginning of Tales of Agmar Gambit, and is going to be a very big reoccurring theme throughout, as you will see. It'll kind of like disappear and reappear and disappear and reappear. Keep going like that through not just the first book, but the 9+ books that I have planned. There's a lot going on. Anyways, this is, of course, on the last bit of the list, not because it's least important, but because I just wanted to make sure that I had enough room to talk about it. It looks like I'm going to. And that project is called Project WRAITH. And so it's the Ellonist Republic's attempt at a bioengineered super soldier. So if you remember, I talked about how the aces aren't like bioengineered super soldiers, right? They're not given any buffs medically or through different surgeries or serums or stuff like that, like you see a lot through other sci-fi stories. Instead, they are just like the best of the best that the Ellonist Republic has to offer, and their suit has a lot of built-in augmentations that help boost that, but not like the craziest amount, because then they might actually snap themselves in half or something, as has been explained in other sci-fis. But this is their attempt, this project right here. And what began this was that scouting parties were exploring new planets, right? As a growing empire, you normally run into fresh planets that are sitting out there. Well, they show up on this planet and came out with some really extraordinary information. And that information was specifically about some of the organisms that were present on the planet, right? So they brought those back for some closer inspection and directed it over to the Bioengineering Division. The scouts did, right? So they go here, bring it back. Their group is like, okay, this is out of our scope. We should give this to the Bioengineering Division. Plops it over there. And that was specifically ordered from the Chancellor himself. Like, basically, this is how it works. They come back from their mission. They're like, okay, hey, we found all this great stuff. They start looking into it. They get a call straight from the Counselor himself. He says, hey, what you're going into is going to be way over your head. You need to go and give it to the Bioengineering Division, which is really interesting because, how would you really know that Republic High Command knew you had something really interesting? But we'll leave that there. We'll unpackage that more as we go on in Tales of Agmar and the overarching story. But anyways, he tells them to give it over there. They do. And the Chancellor orders that the Bioengineering Division begin to research into the possibility of making a super soldier, right? Making some sort of operative that was stronger, smarter, and more agile than the ace specialists that the Republic was currently fielding. Whew. Okay, there we go. And there was a connection identified from the samples brought back from this planet and Rhinus Strix, so Gander's father's, work on the Zinpox vaccine. So if you remember, Zinpox is a disease that Mace's mother dies from after his father had already died, and is kind of why Gander's dad ends up bringing Mace into the family, right? Is because he was researching this but didn't get it out fast enough, kind of felt responsible. So there's a connection between the two. He's pulled in to this already existing group of high specialists given higher security and whatnot, and on top of that, they also identified his son, Gander, because at this point, Gander was kind of up and coming in the Republic, but he wasn't quite in military school yet. But they identified him as a good potential test subject in the future. However, they had to start with the first wave of people, and that was decided to be amongst the people that went and explored the planet. So that whole scouting team was brought in by the division and tested on, seeing as it made sense that them having already interacted with the planet, hopefully with whatever samples they developed for a super soldier, would interact well with them because they'd already been there, just in case there was some correlating aspect between them and the planet. And after some initial success of making people stronger, a little bit smarter, mostly stronger, they did get some more agility in them too. Something went wrong. The rest of your podcast has been censored by the Ellonist Republic Internal Affairs Department. Thank you for understanding and keeping our Republic safe. Just want to talk about what we are going to be doing next week, as well as just reminding you that, we do have all that stuff in the pipeline. It is coming out. I'm expanding as much as I can. The biggest support you guys can give right now, which is the support I would prefer people give, is just tell your friends about us. All right, let them know what Tales of Agmar is, especially if you like us. If you don't like us, I'm sorry, but we're here to stay, and it's going to be fantastic. So I hope you'll join us anyways as I continue to improve my presentation of Tales of Agmar and figure out all the stuff I need to do to help make this easier for you guys. If you guys have suggestions on possible lore bits that you want covered, we've covered quite a bit now, so if there's anything I need to go deeper into, just let me know. Again, got tons going on. Next week's plan, however, aside from me getting the Discord out and giving you guys a section where you can actually suggest those options. So hopefully by next week, the Discord will be out for sure. But next week, we'll be back Friday at 7 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. And people have been really talking to me about this in person. They've been like, oh my goodness, Sinjin, I need you to cover the dragons. And so if you've been waiting for the dragons, you've been sitting here going like, hey, he said there were dragons like 12 episodes ago. Where are the dragons? They're coming to you next week in episode 14. So hang on tight. If you got a friend that likes dragons, tell them to come on by. It should be fantastic. It's a good episode that someone will just be able to pick up on, even if they haven't watched all the other, or not watched, but listened to all of the previous episodes. And I'm really excited to give you guys this glimpse into the dragons of Tales of Agmar, who are kind of not quite full-on gods, but do have the influential power of a higher being, in a sense. It will be really great. You'll just have to come and check it out. But until then, I hope you all have a great week, and